Welcome to Growing Younger podcast, where we guide you through your journey of reaching your fitness goals after 40. Hello guys, the topic of today's podcast is going to be arthritis, and particularly the 5 types of exercise to help you overcome the effects of arthritis. Now, to set the scene, first of all, arthritis is extremely common. So basically it affects 1 in 5 adults right now, and at some stage in life, pretty much more than half of us can expect to get arthritis later down the track. So pretty much you could almost say that this is not a question of if, it's a question of when. So what is arthritis? Arthritis essentially is a group of medical conditions. There's many types. They result in joint pain, inflammation, and essentially most people lose function to some degree. Okay, so most of the time it involves breaking down of the joint cartilage. If it's osteoarthritis, it usually affects the weight-bearing joints. So typically your knees and hips. But it can also affect shoulders, elbows, wrists, and other joints in the body. Now, unfortunately, there is no cure. So there's nothing that can be done to undo the damage, okay, essentially to the joints. However, saying that, there are actually a few things that you can do to slow down the breaking down process, and most importantly, to improve your pain levels and quality of life. So let me explain. So you can actually have an X-ray, and you can see that you have quite a bit of arthritis in your joints. But some people with advanced arthritis live reasonably comfortable lives, and it's because they manage it well. And exercise is one of the most crucial pieces of the puzzle to help you manage your arthritis better. Okay, so problem with the exercise, of course, is it can be a bit counterintuitive, because when you have pain in your hips, knees, arms, shoulders, everywhere, the last thing you want to do is start putting more strain on your body by exercising, okay? However, there is a number of exercises that actually will feel relatively comfortable, and basically you just need to choose the low impact options, okay? So the exercises that generate the least impact or on your joints, okay? And this is where you're probably better off consulting with a physiotherapist, because they'll help you. They'll recommend the right types of exercises for you. However, so this podcast is not a personal advice, but it's just a bit of a guide for you to so you know what to aim for. So what I've done is I've put together 5 types of exercise that are particularly good for people living with arthritis. So the first type of exercise that you need to do is strengthening exercises. So the exercises that help you improve the strength in your muscles, particularly the muscles around the joints that are affected by arthritis. So for example, if it's your knee that has arthritis, you would need to build strength in your quadricep and your hamstring around the knee and maybe the calf muscle. If it's your hip, we're talking your glutes, so your buttock muscles, your core, maybe your hip flexors. So the strengthening exercise probably is the most important component of this. So again, like I said, you need to be targeting the muscles, particularly around the area affected by arthritis. Now, just so we're clear, so strengthening the muscles is not going to undo the actual damage to the cartilage inside the joints, okay? However, to help the pain levels, you don't necessarily need to do that. You can so strengthening the muscles around those joints helps to stabilize the joints, so they become more stable, and it reduces the friction, or you could say the joint play in those joints, reducing the grinding and then therefore reducing inflammation and pain. So even though the damage to those joints does not change, we're not reversing that, but it actually makes the pain a lot more comfortable if you build strength around those affected joints. In some cases, building strength around the joints, particularly the knee, can help to correct bone alignments, okay? So particularly with the knee, you got a kneecap, which is a loose bone that moves around. And sometimes if you have a muscle imbalance, it can kind of like move a little bit off to the side, which could exacerbate the pain. So by building strength in your quads, in your quadricep muscle, it actually helps to improve the alignment around your knee. So what are the sort of, I guess, the examples of strengthening exercises? So I would recommend going if you haven't done this before, going super easy, because you don't want to be aggravating anything, okay? So use body weight to start with. So maybe doing a simple sit to stand, so going from a chair to a standing position. Maybe doing some simple step-ups with a bit of support. You can do if it's your shoulders, you can do push-ups against the wall. You can do some form of squat. So choose the things that you feel relatively comfortable doing without pain, okay? You start at a beginner low level, and then gradually you can increase the intensity as you feel comfortable. You can also use resistant bands, so you can do exercises such as crab walk, or you can do, if you already done body weight exercises for a while, you can try and use some light weights as well. But again, like, you need some guidance. You will need a physiotherapist or an experienced personal trainer to guide you through this. The second type of exercise for arthritis would be range of movement exercises. So one of the ill effects of arthritis essentially is stiffening of the joints. So the joints become harder and harder to move around. They kind of get stuck. So it's quite often it's hard for you to straighten the joint, or bend the joint, or move it, or turn it. So essentially, the range of movement exercises help you maintain and improve the mobility in your joints. Okay, so examples could include, so if it's your shoulders, you can do like shoulder circles. If it's your ankle, you can do what we call alphabet exercises, which is basically just using your toes to write alphabet or to write your name. You can do little wrist bends, so bringing your hand up and down. You can do knee hugs for the knees. So basically you lie on your back and you bring your knees up to your chest and you try and bend the knees as much as you can. So that helps to improve the bend in your knees. Or for the hip, you can do leg swings. So you can stand up, stand on one leg, another leg you can just swing back and forward and side to side. Okay, so this is a very, very simple examples of range of movement exercise, but there are more. Okay, now the third type of exercise for arthritis is aerobic or cardiovascular exercises. Okay, so why these are important? So naturally, because you have pain, most people have arthritis, and it starts in your knees or hips. And it affects your ability to move around. It affects your ability to go for a walk, to engage in any kind of exercise that you would normally enjoy. So therefore, your fitness levels generally start to go downhill. Now, when you start to lose general fitness, obviously it will affect your overall health. It could affect your heart health, your potentially blood pressure, sugar levels, diabetes, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so you need to start doing a low intensity, long duration exercise, which is basically aerobic type of exercises. So examples could be walking. Now, if your arthritis is so advanced that walking causes a lot of pain, you could try cycling. So cycling is actually extremely low impact, and most people, even with arthritis, can manage to go on a bike. Now, if you haven't been on a bike, if you're not feeling confident on a normal road bike, I would highly suggest, for safety reasons, you go on an exercycle, so like on a gym bike, just so you're not going to fall and hurt yourself. You can also try swimming or aqua jogging. Okay, so aqua jogging means you get in the pool and you just walk through the water. Okay, number 4, flexibility and stretching exercise. So this is kind of similar to range of motion exercises. However, it targets your muscles. So because with arthritis, your joints get stiffer, your muscles also become tighter because you're not moving them enough. Okay, so the flexibility and stretching exercises help to stretch out your tight muscles. So for example, if it's your hamstring, So the back of your thigh, you could just try and lean forward and touch your toes. That will be an example of a hamstring stretching exercise. Now the thing about stretching exercises, they need to be sustained. They need to be held. So if you just swing your leg up and down, that's not going to help. You need to reach down to your toes, hold that position for at least 20 seconds, okay? And you need to feel the pull in your muscles for this to be effective, okay? So other types of stretching exercises could be yoga. Tai Chi does a little bit of a stretching as well, and you can also do a lot of like neck, shoulder stretches where you bring your head to the side and you hold that position for a while. But quite important, stretching should be done slowly. So don't yank and pull suddenly. Do it slowly and just make sure, test it out. Just make sure it's not aggravating your pain. Okay, and the fifth type of exercise for arthritis is balance and coordination exercises. So again, with arthritis, because it does damage to the inside of the joints, it also affects what we call proprioceptors, or the little nerve endings inside your joints that help to supply information to your brain about what position your body is in. Okay, so those little receptors, they suffer from arthritis as well. They actually go to sleep, and so therefore your sense of balance tends to decline. Okay, so but the good thing is that you can actually retrain those proprioceptors. You can retrain your sense of balance, and so there's a number of exercises that will challenge your balance, that will help you retrain it. So things like standing on one leg. Okay, now the thing about balance exercises, they challenge your balance, so therefore you need to be thinking about the safety aspect of it. So if this is the first time you're trying this, make sure you do it in a safe place, possibly have someone else standing right next to you so they can catch you. So the first exercise is standing on one leg. So standing on one leg, and just holding it for 10 to 15 seconds and doing it a few times. If that's easy, you could try, while you're standing, you could try turning your head from side to side. That usually makes it a lot harder. Tandem stance, so that means you stand with one foot directly in front of the other. So that makes your base of support very narrow. Again, you start to swing from side to side. It can be challenging. Again, if it's too easy, you can start turning your head from side to side. That makes it a little bit harder. Tai Chi can also, there's a little bit of balance involved as well. So that could be a good thing to try for balance training. And if you have a balance board or a wobbly board, balancing on one of those things can actually be quite helpful as well. So yeah, look, those were the 5 types of exercise that I would recommend for people with arthritis. So I can't emphasize enough that finding the right type of exercise for you to manage your arthritis long term and to avoid suffering a greater level of disability is extremely important. Now, consult with your healthcare professional, whether it's a physio or a doctor. What types of exercise are better for you? It's always important to do that. And then just the last note is, once you start on something, be consistent with it. Don't expect the result in a couple of days, okay? Because good things take time. So stay on track. Have a bit of a plan. Do it. Say, whatever you decide to do, 3-4 times a week, every day. As long as you stick to it long term, that's the name of the game. Is consistency, okay? Exercise can have a huge impact on the quality of life, especially further down the track, okay? So all the best for now. Hope you got something useful out of it, and I'll speak to you next time.